Hello and welcome to Empire Builders, the place for entrepreneurs, business owners and experts who want to build an epic empire. I'm Nick James and thanks for joining me here today. Hey, good evening everyone. How you doing? Nick James here. Welcome to this evening's Fast and Furious training, all about, well, it's 3 lessons really, 3 ways in which you can generate more leads, more opportunities, more inquiries, more clients in your business in the next 30 days. The title of this presentation is 3 marketing lessons to help you get more clients in the next 30 days. Now, first and foremost, why do I think this is so important? Well, if you stop and think about it, in my mind at least, all business really comes down to 4 key concepts. Number 1, marketing, getting an awareness, like making sure that people know who you are, what you do, what products and services you've got available. So number 1, marketing. Then once there's an awareness, sales, like converting that awareness, that interest into paying clients, paying customers. Thirdly, the delivery of said product or service in a way that ensures people get a good experience. They then want to be repeat customers. They want to refer, they want to recommend. And number 4, management of the money, the financials. Really, all business comes down to those 4 principles: marketing, sales, delivery and finance. But the reason I share them in that order is, for me, they are in that order and sequence. Like all business happens, my friend Dan Priestley says all business is downstream from marketing. And so for me, the better job you will do or can do when it comes to getting attention, generating leads, generating inquiries, generating opportunities, the more impact you're going to make, the more income you're going to make. So whilst, of course, a lot of my trainings, a lot of my programs are broad business principles, this evening's training is zooming in on marketing specifically, because without marketing, you ain't really got a business. So I'm going to zone in on 3 lessons in particular for you. So let's get cracking, shall we? So lesson number 1, and this is a lesson that I learned from my trainer, my personal trainer. So I've been training at a gym. It's called Forders, which, by the way, those who are in the Midlands, so I know that there's a couple of people in the Midlands and Coventry around our area. If you're in the Midlands, definitely check out Forders. It is, like, I'm biased, but I think it's the best gym. It's got to be the best gym in the country. And the reason I say that is because it's got this amazing community of people that are serious about fitness. Like, it's not, if you come and dabble, you're going to get found out really quickly. And Daz, who's the guy he owns the gym, Darren Ford, his name is Daz. He's like hardcore. So he's not very tall. He's about my height, 5'8" maybe, pure muscle, really, like, he's an ex-rugby player. So really, really strong, really, really fit. And a few years ago, I'm going to say about 2.5 years ago, he dropped me a message on WhatsApp and he said, "Hey, I'm starting this new class on a Monday evening. It's going to be really hard, really intense. It's only for people that are really serious about getting fit. I feel like you've plateaued a little bit, like you're in decent shape, but I feel you've plateaued. And so I want to push you harder. But be mindful that the only people I'm inviting are really, really fit already. And it's going to be a slog and it's going to cost you this much money." And I was like, yeah, that's like, I'm not sure this is for me. For a start, it sounds horrible. And secondly, like, it's a commitment of time and I'm busy and all these things. And he messaged me back. He went, "Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. You're probably not going to be able to hack it." And I was like, "You bastard." Because as soon as he said, "You're not going to be able to hack it," of course, now, like, he's basically goaded me into it. So I signed up for this class and I get there Monday night, 6:30, middle of winter, like it's freezing cold, and there's 15 of us there. And I was by a distance the slowest and the most unfit person in this group. Over the months that followed, I kept going to the class and I got gradually fitter and fitter. Anyway, this is the reason I tell you the story. After about 6 months, Daz goes to the 15 of us in the group. He goes, and by the way, I didn't tell you this, the class that I was participating in was called Hyrox, Hyrox. And I didn't really know anything about it, but it's basically a combination of running and pushing heavy stuff and pulling heavy stuff and doing all sorts of disciplines, rowing machine, etc., etc. And basically he went, "There's an event happening in London, which the training you've been doing, I think it'd be really good for you to all do this event, because it'd be a good way to kind of get a sense of how much you've progressed, and then you can do another one next year and then you can see how you've improved." I was like, "Okay, cool, that sounds good." So 15 of us all signed up for this event. So we go to the event in London and there's 4,000 competitors. And I'm like, holy shit, how on earth have they managed to get, like, I thought there's 15 of us, maybe there'll be, I don't know, a few hundred, 4,000 competitors. So I went, how? How have they done this? And what they've done, and this is lesson number one, is they built a community without really building a community. They've built a crowd, as I call it. And what they've done is, Daz was one of hundreds of gym owners all over the country that had done the same thing. And then, of course, he'd invited us 15, and some gym owners had bought 30, and some had bought 10, and some of those people had bought their friends, and they got 4,000 competitors there. But what they've done really well is they've built a crowd, and I think they've done it. And by the way, there's two reasons to tell you this story. One, because it gives me an excuse to show you this picture. And quite frankly, it's the best picture of me that's ever been taken. I'm sure there'll never be a better one. So yes, I will milk this and put it in pretty much any business presentation I possibly can. And two, because it's a great illustration of this first principle. Lesson number one is build a crowd. And there's 3 questions. I think I'm not saying maybe they did one of my trainings. I'm not saying they answered these consciously, but I think they did a great job of answering these 3 questions. And these are 3 questions that I think you need to answer if you're going to successfully build a crowd of people who, by the way, I was the perfect fit for them. I was into my training, but wanted to get fitter. I was already spending a lot of money on gym membership because the membership at Ford it's not a come and go as you please gym. It's all personal training and semi-personal training. So, I spend hundreds of pounds a month to be a member of that gym. So I'm already well qualified. So I think that they answered probably unwittingly 3 questions. And I think these 3 questions will really help you when it comes to building your crowd, building your community, not just of anybody and everybody, but a crowd of people who are predisposed to purchase your products and services. Like when Daz said, buy a ticket for this event in London, and I think it was 70 or 80 quid, like I didn't even think twice because I was already qualified. I was always predisposed to purchase. So how do you do it? I asked 3 questions. The first one is, who specifically are your products and services for? Now, if your answer to that question is everybody, I would implore you to drill down and go, well, no, who really would be the ideal client or customer? Who is predisposed to purchase? So Hyrox maybe went, who are our ideal clients? The people that are already members of gyms. We're not for beginners, because by the way, it's hardcore. It's the Hyrox event is 8 kilometers of running. It's 1,000 meters on the ski machine, 1,000 meters on the row machine. You're pushing a sled that weighs twice my body weight, pulling a sled that weighs nearly that. So it's heavy duty. So they've gone, it's not for just anyone. It's for people that are already seriously into the fitness. And they're probably already spending money on quite expensive gym memberships. So who specifically are the products and services for? The second question is, what do they want? And equally, maybe what do they not want? So I guess, what's the outcome, the result they're looking for? And I guess in the Hyrox example, what people want is, yes, they want to get healthier, yes, they want to get fitter, but they want to do it through competitive racing. I knew that I'd plateaued. And the reason I plateaued is because I didn't have anything to train for. I didn't have a goal in mind. I didn't have an event coming up. And it's not a coincidence that since I've got into these competitive races, my fitness has gone higher and higher because I want to improve my time. I want to qualify for the World Championships. I've got goals. So what do they want, or what do they not want? So you might not sell something aspirational like Hyrox. This is get fitter. It's aspirational. It might be, what do you not want? What pain do you want to solve? What do you want to get away from? And then the third question is, where do they hang out? And this is what I think Hyrox nailed. They probably did a bit of 1 and 2, but where they hang out was crucial. And my guess is they went, well, the place these people hang out are gyms that are expensive. So probably not just your run-of-the-mill, easy gym, which is 10, 20 quid a month. But they already hang out at gyms that, you pay a decent amount to be a member of, and they're taking their fitness journey seriously. And literally they sold, like I said, 4,000 tickets roughly to that event. I think that was the first one they'd ever done in the UK. So, by the way, my first ever event in 2009, we had 8 people turn up. They had 4,000 at their first one. And I think the reason they managed to achieve that is they got this third question now. They went, where do they hang out? and they went to all of the gyms, private gyms all over the country, and just like completely flooded the market. So I think they did a great job of answering those 3 questions. And I'd probably, if I was making notes as you listen to this, I'd put a circle around where they hang out, because really that is where are you going to advertise. Where they hang out might be on LinkedIn. If you sell to corporates or executives or professionals, it might be they hang out on Instagram more than anywhere else. It might be they hang out at business events like my Expert Empires event. It might be they hang out in private gyms like the example I've given. So where they hang out, that's a really important one, because that'll tell you where to show up, where to advertise. So lesson number 1, build a crowd, answer those 3 questions. Lesson number 2. So this is actually quite an oldie, but a goodie, I suppose you'd say. So in 2013, I achieved something which I suppose, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, it's probably one of those things you'd like to tick off at some point. I sold one of my businesses. So what had actually happened was I'd already established my business. A friend of mine had established a similar business, complementary business. We merged them together and then sold the combined business in a 7-figure deal. Now, I'm always mindful when anyone ever says that, because having done it, I can tell you it's never as good as it sounds. So for a start, there was 2 of us, so we had to share the money. The second part of it is that not all of it was cash, and so it was part cash up front, part share options in the company that purchased, and then part earn out. So based upon extra money paid to us based upon performance over the first 12 months, I think it was from memory. But it was fairly lucrative. I was only 30 years old at the time. So I did what most 30-year-old guys would do when they come into a bit of money. Who can guess in the chat what I did when I came into a bit of money at 30 years old? Nikki's got it like straight away. First thing I did, not just a car, but a ridiculously expensive car that I really didn't need. But of course, my ego got in the way and I went and bought a stupid car. So this lesson comes from actually a bad experience I had. No, Chris, the AP came later, but this was my first stupid of many stupid purchases. So I bought a stupid car. So I went to the Audi dealership, which, funny enough, I've since moved house. Where I live now is literally around the corner from this dealership. So I actually run past this when I'm on my little local run. This is just around the corner, but at the time I was a bit further away. So I walked into the Audi dealership and I said, hello. I walked into the reception. I said, hello, I'd like to buy an Audi R8, please. And the lady on reception looked me in the eye. I'll never forget it. She said, I'm really sorry, sir, but the representative that deals with the Audi R8 isn't available today. So I'm afraid you're going to have to come back another time. I was gobsmacked. I was like, I've walked in like I'm as good a prospect as you can possibly imagine. I've got money. I'm ready to spend it. I'm just looking for somebody to take it off me and give me what I want, this car. So anyway, I was a bit perturbed, but I left the dealership. A couple of days later, I went back, went to the reception desk again. There was a different receptionist there. I said, hello, I came in the other day, want to buy an R8. And she said, oh, I'm really sorry. The representative that deals with the R8 is not available to see you right now. But if you give me your contact details, I'll get him to give you a call. And I went, this is better. It's not great, but it's better. So I gave him my name, my email address, my mobile phone number. And she went, great, I'll pass it on and you'll hear from somebody in the next 24 hours. 7 days passed. I still haven't heard anything. I'm like, how hard can it be to give these people the money and to get what I want? So anyway, about a week later, I'm really annoyed at this point. I go back into the dealership. I said, hey, I've been in a couple of times. I really want to buy an R8. Like, please. And I was probably a little bit frustrated in my tone. Like I was saying, like, can I just see someone, please? And she was like, no problem, sir. Let me take you through to Ben, who's our representative, and he can speak to you about the options available. So I sit down with Ben at the like at his little desk in the dealership, and actually he was quite good, to be fair. He was, because he didn't just tell me all the features and stuff, which is what most salespeople do. They just talk at you. But he asked me questions. He said, what spec you're looking for, what color, what's your budget, etc., etc. So he asked me loads of questions. So he got all the info, and he was like, look, what you're looking for, there aren't that many in stock, but we've got a network of dealers. So if you give me a couple of days, I'll find a few options for you and send them through. So I said, look, Ben, I've not had a great experience so far. So if you send me 3 options, like you're a salesperson, right? If you send me 3 options that meet the criteria we've spoken about, I will purchase one of them from you. And he went, no problem, Nick. What I'll do is I'll send you the options via email and then I'll call you and you can ask any questions and let me know what you want to do. And I never heard from him again, which is absolutely mental. Now, I'll tell you this story. This is an extreme example. I'm wondering how many of you, us, have ever been guilty of not following up as proactively or as consistently as we might with people who have expressed an interest in your products and services. And they might not have walked into your shop or dealership in this case. They might have just commented on a post that you put on social media, or they might have replied to an email, or they might have had a conversation with you at an event or something and gone, oh yeah, I'd like to hear more about that, keep in touch. And then you haven't. And normally the reason that you haven't is either A, time, B, you don't want to harass people, you don't want to be a pest, or C, you just didn't get their details in the follow-up. As Morella's just said in the chat, like, you're scared to follow up, right? So really, this is a cautionary tale. And lesson 2 is, first and foremost, capture as much information as you possibly can from people when you speak to them at an event, when you interact with them on social media. And there's 3 pieces of information I'd always recommend you get. Number 1, obviously get their name. Number 2, email address. Number 3, phone number, specifically mobile phone number. And the reason I always get those 3 as a minimum is that, well, think about it this way. Email deliverability is getting lower and lower. How many text messages do you get a day? I'm guessing a lot less. And so what I've noticed is that competition for attention in the email inbox is at an all-time high, but actually competition via the phone, whether that's text message or WhatsApp, like we noticed that the deliverability, the response rate from WhatsApp or text message is far, far greater than email. I'm not saying don't do email marketing, by the way, but I guess the message in this lesson is whatever marketing message you're sending out, first of all, when you get a lead, capture the data and then follow up consistently using all the data you've got. So make sure you email consistently. And we've started doing more and more, specifically WhatsApp marketing, because that seems to be, here in the UK at least, it seems to be probably the primary medium which people use to communicate. I know I do a lot. And so if you WhatsApp me, the chances are I'm going to see it and we're going to get into an interaction much more quickly. Somebody just said here, Dirk's just said, text tends to get a quicker response. The phone call's the quickest if you get through, but obviously getting hold of people, they're busy, whatever. I mean, personally, I don't answer the phone if I don't know the number. Not everyone's that way, so I still would phone people, but I find WhatsApp, little WhatsApp voice note, little WhatsApp personal video, or a text, really, really good way to follow up. So lesson, I guess, 2A is capture the data, and then 2B is actually use it and follow up. So I'm willing to bet that everybody has at least one person, probably more, that's a potential client or customer, and you've let it go cold, you haven't followed up consistently. So maybe an action for you from this evening is to send a little WhatsApp voice note or a video or a text to follow up with somebody that you've previously engaged with. Lesson number 3, final lesson. And this is really recent, like as in a couple of months ago. One of my favourite things to do, many of you will know this about me, I'm a keen football fan and Aston Villa on my team. And one of my favourite things to do is go to Villa Park, watch the home games with my wife and kids. So me, Nat, my wife, Natalie, Zach and Ty, we love going to Villa Park, watching our team, shout out Champions League qualification. We played our first match in the Champions League last night, won 3-0, buzzing. So we love to go to Villa Park. And last season, for the first time, we kind of treated ourselves to like a corporate hospitality package. To be honest, it's the only way to get my wife to go, because she's not that interested in the football. She's really interested in like fine dining and expensive wine. And you get that as part of the package. So last season we had season tickets in the nice restaurant, corporate hospitality. And so last season, amazing season, qualified for the Champions League. We were buzzing, really excited about renewing for this season. And we got an invite from like our representative at Villa. Her name's Jenny. She invited us. She went, hey, we're doing loads of great new stuff this season, qualified for the Champions League. So we're refurbing, we're doing amazing new things. I'd like to invite you to this. It's an invitation only showcase where we're going to show you, what's new and what the different options are for hospitality for the season ahead. So me and Nat booked. There's a little online booking system. So we booked to go, and we turn up at Villa Park, right? And Jenny's there to greet us at the entrance with a couple of glasses of champagne, and she walks us through. And they've got, by the way, the room that they were doing the showcase in overlooks the pitch. They've created almost like little sample areas. So it's like, oh, this is what the new refurbed restaurant looks and feels like. This is what the chairs are like and the tables are like, and this is the cutlery and the glassware, and then here's some samples of the new menu, and they actually had food there, and the waiting staff are coming around and looking after you, and it was a phenomenal experience. And they've got videos playing of the best bits of last season and hyping up the season ahead. And so I was really excited, and Nat's made up because the food's amazing and the staff are amazing and the drink's lovely. So we're having a great time, right? And then so Jenny, our rep, she sits down with us and she says, right, so here are the options for the season ahead. And I don't mind spending a bit of money, but I nearly fell off my chair. My eyes nearly popped out of my head, because we'd spent a reasonable amount last season and had a great time. I was more than happy to do that again, but I can't tell you the number. I just can't. It's embarrassing. But it had gone up by, let me do the maths, it had gone up by 50%. For essentially the same thing. So I'm like, this is rough. And so I was like, Jenny, this all looks amazing, but that is way more than I was looking to spend. So what have you got? What options have you got available for the same money that I spent last year? And she was like, yeah, we have got a package for that. And then she explained what it was. And I'm like, basically, it's burger and chips. It's a couple of drinks from the bar. Mrs. James is not going to go for that. So now I'm backed into a corner. I'm basically going, I've got no choice other than to spend 50% more, is how it felt. And she went, look, no major rush. Let me know within the next 48 hours. I'm holding your table for you that you had last year, but I've got the other reps, your table is the best table in the restaurant, overlooks the pitch. The other reps are they've got a queue. So I'll give you 48 hours, but you got to let me know. So now I'm going I've got to make a decision. By the way, I don't know if that was true or not, but I didn't want to risk losing my table, which, we love. It's our little space, our little area. Anyway, long story short, I'm in, obviously, for 50% increase on last year. And to be fair, what they did, and there's a really valuable lesson in this, is, first of all, they created an amazing environment in which to sell. So in order to convert, and this is part of your marketing, I think. Part of your marketing is creating an environment that's conducive to conversion. And they did that really, really well by creating an experience. Your environment might not be, this was a live in-person event as such, a showcase, but your environment might be a one-to-one call on Zoom. Your environment might be a group call on Zoom. Your environment might be a phone call. Your environment might be going to the office of the person, or it might be them coming to your office, but creating an environment that's conducive to conversion. And then secondly, they nailed the irresistible offer. Because by the way, 50% increase in price doesn't sound like an irresistible offer, but when you've taken away any other reasonable option, then I ain't got much choice. And here's what they did that was brilliant. They went, right, we've qualified for the Champions League. So that's another 4 games this season. They're included. And by the way, these are the biggest games that our club's ever been involved in. We've also got domestic competitions ×2. So that's probably going to be at least another 2 games. The better we do, the more games we get. So I go, I'm probably getting at least 6, 7, maybe 8, even 9 if we do really well games on top of the 19 that I'd normally get. So I'm actually getting possibly 50% more games. So, okay, that makes a bit of sense. Then they go, we're also going to give you a signed shirt by all the players. My 11-year-old's now he's, bear in mind, my wife's all in. She wants the fancy food, the nice wine. She wants to buy it. My little boy, who's 11, wants the signed shirt. And then they, obviously I'm going, I get to go to all the games. That's a good deal. Then they've dropped the bomb, which is, and at the end of the season, your kids get to go and play on the pitch. I'm like, shit. Now I've now got the 3 of them going, what are we waiting for? So I've got no choice other than to buy. So I think what they did brilliantly, by the way, they increased the price by 50%. I'm willing to bet. In fact, let me ask you this. If you know you could or should be charging more for the products and services, for the value that you provide, for what you've created, what you offer. And why don't we? Because we're fearful that we might lose business. And so my counter to this would be, think about what Villa have done. They've increased the price by 50%. And by the way, like the take up, I wasn't the only one, because obviously I see who's there now in the new season. We've been to 2 games this season. Like pretty much everybody renewed. So like they've massively increased the revenues by doing this. They've done loads of other clever stuff to increase revenue as well. Like you can increase your prices, your fees, but I think doing it without considering the irresistible offer and increasing the value, then it might well have a negative impact. But like in this case, remember, they've created an environment that's conducive to sales. They've created an irresistible offer, even though they've increased the price by 50%, like take up renewals were really, really strong. So think about how you can do that to convert. And I really think that the environment and the offer are, yes, they're to make sales, but I think they're a marketing effort. Because quite frankly, you're creating the space, you're creating all the pieces of the jigsaw that are required to make a sale. And then the sales bit is like what you say and how you say it in order to close the deal. But all this for me is marketing, the creation of the offer, the environment. So look, we've covered 3 things, 3 very quick fire lessons. Lesson 1, crowd. Ask yourself, who is your ideal client or customer? What do they want or what do they not want? And where do they hang out? We talked about High Rocks and how they sold 4,000 tickets to their first event in the UK. Lesson number 2, capture. Don't be like the Audi dealership. Make sure that you capture name, email, phone number of anyone that's interested in doing business with you and follow up. And then lesson number 3, convert by A, creating an environment that's conducive to that conversion taking place, and B, create an irresistible offer, a banging offer that people just would be foolish to say no to, and find ways that are aligned with your values where it makes it almost impossible to say no. Like I really felt like I had no other choice than to say yes to renewing my hospitality package. And you know what? I've loved, like we've had 2 games so far. It's been amazing. Like we've had a great experience. To be fair, the refurb of the restaurant, the service is better, the food's better. They've really upped it, which by the way, you have to do. If you're going to increase your prices by 50%, you better back it up by delivering a world-class, a quality product or service or experience. Those are my 3 lessons. Thank you so much for listening to Empire Builders. Please subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, on Spotify, on other platforms, and share the love, tell your friends. Remember, till next time, the more you connect, the more you collect.